Hello, 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 and welcome to Miss Hope's Reading Hour on this wonderful Wednesday. So glad to be here with you all. Oh, I missed you guys on Monday. I wasn't able to be here. So sorry that I was not, but I am so glad to be here today on this wonderful Wednesday. Hopefully you did have a marvelous Monday. Hopefully you did. And that you had a terrific Tuesday. But we are here now on this wonderful Wednesday. So, how was my terrific Tuesday? Just to let you guys know. Remember a while back when Miss Hope said that she had a little knot on her foot and her foot was swelling up a little bit. She was like, "What's that?" So I had to get a boot put on my foot. I had the little soft lace up boot. But Miss Hope is okay. Miss Hope is all right. Hopefully next week I will find out if I can take my lace up boot off. Okay. But other than that, my Tuesday was still terrific. My Monday, I took it easy, but it was still marvelous because it's always great when you get to take it easy when you need to, right? So, my friends, spring is upon us. And even though it's kind of cold, the sun is, coming up sooner in the morning. It's lasting a little longer in the evening. We've already had to spring forward with that hour. Hope that you guys are still catching up on your sleep. But today, funny I bring up sleep because today we are going to be reading books that have to do with the night sky. Maybe I should have turned the lights out. That would have been awesome. Think about that for next time, because we do have a few other books that have to do with the night sky. So for next time, maybe I will shut out the lights a little bit, and then we will read those books. But remember as well, Happy Women's History Month, the month of March. We are still here. It is only the 17th. So we have many more amazing women and girls to talk about. And also men who support those women and girls, men and boys, okay? So, and it's so funny, one of our books today is going to talk about just that. So, in our two books that you saw in the teaser, we are talking about the night sky. How many people love to look up at the night sky and see the stars in the sky and the clouds and the moon? I raise my hand for that. I love it. I love it. Sometimes when I'm walking home at night, I have to watch my step because I have my cell phone out because the moon might be big, or you can see bright stars in the sky and I'm trying to take a picture of it. I know that the picture might not come out great because they're so far away, but I still try anyway because I love it. I love it. I love in the daytime when the clouds are big and puffy. I love to take pictures of those. And when the moon is big at night and you can really see it big and bright in a clear sky, I love taking pictures of that stuff. So we will be talking about the night sky and women who helped us to look at the night sky differently. Did you know? Of course, watching Hidden Figures, the movie Hidden Figures. Hello, Miss Brandy and boys, how are you doing tonight? Of course, watching Hidden Figures. If you have not watched that movie, my friends, you need to watch that movie, Hidden Figures. Awesome story about the women who helped to put Men in Space and on the Moon with NASA. Wonderful, amazing African American women. So we are going to talk about some other women today who helped us to look at the night sky differently. So before we get into that, let's get rid of all the other stuff we got to do, right? So the wonderful celestial music that you hear and the great books that we read today. Unfortunately, Miss Hope does not own the rights to the music or the books, but they are here for your listening and reading enjoyment. And, oh, I'm so glad. So, I lost my train of thought because I was saying hi to my friends who are watching. Hello, boys. So I'm glad that you guys watched the movie, and I can't wait to read the books to you today. So also, if you want to donate to Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library, look down here in the ticker. You can donate via Cash App, or you can donate with digital gift cards to the email address that is listed below. Now, my friends, let us get to the books, okay? So our first book is called Always Looking Up. Nancy Grace Roman, astronomer. We will find out what an astronomer does today. So this book is by Laura Gale, illustrated by Louis Pigott and Alex Oxton. Always Looking Up. Nancy Grace Roman, astronomer. Look at her and her little self right there. Okay? Excuse me. Now for our next book. It is called The Girl Who Named Pluto. The story of Venesia Burney. The Girl Who Named Pluto. I read the story earlier today and was like, what? You're going to love this one. This book is by Alice B. McGinty and Alex Heidel. The Girl Who Named Pluto. Did you know a girl named Pluto? You will find out today. Also, remember, we still learning about our girl Patina, who ain't no junk, okay? Patty ain't no junk, all right? So we will get into all the goings on in practice, in track practice from the last time we were reading. Then we will learn some more because now she is about to have a different position, doing different things in the track team. We'll find out more about that when we get to our chapter book. So, my friends, are you ready for our first book? Always Looking Up. Nancy Grace Roman, astronomer, by Laura Gale. Oh, and look, it looks the same underneath the dust jackets. Let's find out about Nancy Grace Roman. Now, mind you, I have never heard of these two women before, ever, before I started looking for books for Women's History Month. So, both of us are learning something new during this month because a lot of the women in the books that we are reading this month, I never heard of them. So don't think that just because your name is not in lights and all over the news all the time, that you cannot make a huge impact in the world, because these women did. And all the women that we're reading about this month, they made a difference. Some of them you knew a lot about, some of them you didn't. But just because you don't hear their names all the time doesn't mean that they did not make a huge impact in the world. So that tells you and me that just because we're not on TV or in a movie or somebody hasn't written a book about us yet, doesn't mean that we can't make a huge impact in the world. So let us get to our book, Always Looking Up. Young Nancy Grace loved to look up at the endless night sky. She gazed at tiny blue-white stars glittering in the inky blackness. Oh, one of my favorite things to do. Just staring up at the sky. Her father's job changed again and again. For Nancy Grace, this meant moving from Tennessee to Texas, to Oklahoma, to New Jersey, then to Michigan. Each new place seemed different and strange. But the same night sky extended across the country and beyond. Nancy Grace looked up to see the familiar moon glowing above each new home. And wearing her first pair of glasses, Nancy Grace looked up through their lenses to see colors twirling and dancing on a dark stage, the Northern Lights. So there's an astronomical phenomenon when you go further north called the Northern Lights, where it's like different colors are flashing across the sky. I would love to see that one day. With curiosity as boundless as the universe, Nancy Grace vowed to learn more about space. She gathered friends into an astronomy club to study the constellations. Together, they mapped sparkling patterns on an infinite black canvas. Standing in the quiet night, Nancy Grace watched brilliant meteors shoot across an ocean of dark, deep blue. And she noticed Venus and Jupiter outshining the stars. So if you want to know what constellations are, they're different groups of stars that are in different formations, like the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. Those are constellations. Nancy Grace read every astronomy book in the public library, but then her eyes grew weak, and the doctor ordered a break. No reading except for schoolwork. Still, no one could stop Nancy Grace from reading the night sky. Wow, she read so much that her eyes got weak. That's pretty amazing. And she was unstoppable at school, where she tutored a fellow student in math, asked questions her physics teachers could not answer, and requested a second algebra class instead of Latin. What lady would take mathematics instead of Latin? The guidance counselor asked. A lady planning to be an astronomer. That's who. Why not? I mean, I wouldn't take another algebra class, but if she wants to, let her go ahead. With determination as fiery as a supernova, Nancy Grace went on to college, where her professors told her science and math were masculine subjects, meaning that they were for boys. Cold, hard facts and calculations were best left to men, they believed. Literature and history, those were for women. Yet, Nancy Grace knew astronomy was for her. Tell me. And her eyes were strong again, strong enough to read a tower of books stretching toward space. Nancy Grace blazed through science classes until one teacher admitted, maybe you just might make it. Maybe. We'll see about that. Nancy Grace zoomed ahead to graduate school. Some teachers did not approve of women pursuing advanced degrees. They thought women should leave school and get married instead. But Nancy Grace stayed focused on the stars of the Big Dipper, studying their movements through space. She still looked up at the sky every night, but now it was her job. Nancy Grace had pushed past everyone steering her toward ladylike careers, such as teaching or nursing. She had achieved her goal of becoming an astronomer, yet this was only the beginning. Ladylike career. What do you say to guys who want to be teachers or nurses? With powerful tools and her powerful mind, astronomer Nancy Grace searched for new information, new answers, even new questions about the universe. She studied bright stars in our swirly Milky Way, noting that young stars moved differently than older ones. She observed binary stars like AG Draconis, a giant star, and a dwarf star orbiting each other. She worked with radio telescopes, detecting invisible energy from stars and planets. Wow. That is pretty amazing. She knew her stuff. Look at how huge that telescope is. You see her down there, so little? Huge telescope. That is amazing. Her research spread across the world to astronomers in the Soviet Union, where Americans were not normally welcome. They read Nancy Grace's published paper about A.G. Draconis and invited her to visit. Nancy Grace's trip intrigued other scientists. She gave a talk when she returned to the U.S., then a series of 10 astronomy lectures. Nancy Grace's passion shone as she spoke. She had seen and learned so much in her career already. Now she could share that knowledge with others. That is the point. When you learn, you got to share it. When brand new NASA needed a chief of astronomy, Nancy Grace seized the opportunity. She traveled the country, asking scientists about their hopes for space astronomy. Many had the same desire, a clear view of space from above the atmosphere. Nancy Grace understood that the atmosphere blocks and alters light from space. Looking at stars through the atmosphere, she wrote in an essay, is not too different from looking at streetlights through a pane of old stained glass. Nancy Grace dreamed of helping astronomers see farther into space than humans had ever seen before. Past the moon, past Venus and Jupiter, past the stars she had mapped as a child. That is a pretty steep thing she wants to do. The world needed a new type of telescope, one that floated above the atmosphere, orbiting the Earth while capturing images of infant stars, black holes, and galaxies billions of light years away. Astronomers had wished for this type of telescope before, yet many doubted it could become a reality. A large space telescope would cost millions, maybe billions of dollars. It would be difficult to build. Telescopes on Earth were good enough. But Nancy Grace had faced doubters before. So she believed it could be a reality. Even though everyone else was like, I don't know. She brought astronomers and engineers together. What did astronomers want? What did engineers believe possible? What if something went wrong in space? Meetings continued for years. Gradually, they agreed on a design that would become the Hubble Space Telescope. NASA needed money from Congress to pay for Hubble. Lots of money. One senator questioned whether taxpayers should fund an expensive telescope, but Nancy Grace had experience defending her choices. For the price of a single night at the movies, every American will get 15 years of exciting scientific results, she wrote in response. Finally, more than a decade later, 10 years later, following design changes, delays, and setbacks, a shuttle carried Hubble into space. As big as a bus, as heavy as 2 elephants, Hubble was launched into orbit. Look at that. The world waited for the first photographs taken without the distortion of the atmosphere. Photographs that would prove Hubble worthy of the money and years of effort. But the first images were blurry, and hopes plummeted like a falling meteorite. Yet, way back when Nancy Grace brought a team together to design Hubble, they had repair missions in mind. Hubble was the first telescope designed to be serviced or fixed in space. 3 years after Hubble's launch, astronauts installed a device to correct the faulty mirror. It was like putting glasses on Hubble. Once again, people across the globe waited for pictures. Would the fix work? Nancy Grace waited too. Wow. Can you imagine out there in space looking at the Earth repairing a telescope? Yes! Crystal clear images from Hubble dazzled and delighted, informed and inspired. Nancy Grace, called Mother of Hubble, marveled along with the rest of the world at the photographs sent back from space. Comets hurtling into Jupiter, dust storms on Mars, nebulae shaped like a butterfly, a crab, a tarantula. Over the next quarter of a century, 25 years, much longer than the 15 years Nancy Grace had promised Congress, Hubble changed the way people saw the universe and helped scientists make giant leaps in understanding space. Astronomers could track the shrinking red spot on Jupiter, measure the atmosphere of planets beyond our solar system, and estimate the age of the universe. Wow. Look at those pictures. These are pictures that came from the Hubble telescope. That is amazing. That's Jupiter. Oh, right there with the red spot. That is amazing. After retiring, Nancy never stopped learning about astronomy, reading papers, attending lectures, talking with other astronomers. And even in her 90s, Nancy Grace loved to walk outside and look up at the endless night sky. As she said, The real way to learn about the sky is to look at it. Till rising and gliding out I wandered off by myself in the mystical moist night air, and from time to time looked up in perfect silence at the stars. Walt Whitman wrote that quote from When I Heard I Learned The Learned Astronomer, Nancy Grace's favorite poem. Look at her in her 90s. Wow. The end. That is amazing. Now, I'm not going to read the whole author's note, but I do want to read something Nancy Grace said. While Nancy Grace was lucky her childhood problems with weak eyesight did not persist into adulthood, she never forgot those years when she wasn't allowed to read. After her retirement, Nancy Grace read astronomy books aloud for adults with dyslexia and impaired vision. Nancy Grace also enjoyed talking with students and offered advice to kids who love science. Number 1, if you're a girl or a boy who wants to be a scientist, go for it. Be flexible. Your career may lead you in unexpected directions. That was number 2. Number 3, science is changing all the time, which means the right job for you might not even exist yet. Wow, what an amazing story. And do you know that the Hubble telescope is still in space right now? And she helped come up with the idea and the design for that telescope. Amazing woman. Wait a minute. Oh no, this wasn't the one with the picture of the person as a young person. It's the next book. Our next book, The Girl Who Named Pluto, the story of Venesia Burney. And this one looks the same as the dust jacket too. See? Woo-hoo. Wait till you hear this story. You're going to love this one. And look, these are constellations. These are star formations in the sky. But Venetia drew them out. Written by Alice B. McGinty. Who's the publisher of this book? This is a Schwartz and Wade's Books book. And who was the publisher of this one? This is and Always Looking Up was an Albert Whitman and Company book. Now let's get to The Girl Who Named Pluto. Out of the classroom, down the hallway, and out the door, Venesia Burney and her schoolmates followed their teacher, leaving their British schoolhouse behind. It is the year 1930, and they are counting their steps from the sun, a circle drawn on their classroom blackboard. It's kind of a big book. Want to make sure you guys see all the pictures. "39, 40, 41, Miss Claxon leads, her words as precise as her footsteps. At exactly 41 paces from the sun, they lay down a bird seed, Mercury. At 77 paces, they place a pea, Venus. Next, a larger pea, Earth. After placing a bead for Mars and an orange for Jupiter, the largest planet, they stop at 1,019 paces inside University Park. There, they lay down a golf ball, Saturn." Wow. So they're trying to figure out where the planets would be if they were walking. There are 2 more planets in the solar system, Uranus and Neptune, but Miss Claxon tells her students that they are too far away. She will let their imaginations finish the planet walk. Too many paces to make it back to the school building. When Venesia and her friends return to the park later with lumps of clay for the planets, they run counting paces to Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, all the way to Neptune. Venesia's imagination whirls, trying to fathom the real distances. She has memorized each number. Stormy blue Neptune orbits 2.79 billion miles from the sun. And what lies beyond? How far does the solar system reach? That is a good question. Venesia brings her questions to breakfast each morning, and Grandfather Maidan answers as many as he can. She and Mother have been living with Grandfather since Venesia's father died. Old and stately like the Oxford Library, where he was head librarian, Grandfather knows that questions lead to learning, and his family is afire with learning. Along with the planets, Venesia is learning about Greek and Roman gods. When she reads about Mars, the Roman god of war, she is reminded of her great uncle, Henry Maidan, a science master who named the 2 moons orbiting that planet. He chose Phobos and Deimos, Mars's twin sons, moons and planets named from legends. What a marvelous link between science and story. You see, she has a lot of questions, and her grandfather is trying to give a lot of answers. How many moons does Saturn have? Where did the name Neptune come from? Why is Atlas stuck holding up the heavens? Who was the first person to discover Mars? Wow, those are good questions. At breakfast one Friday, as Grandfather sifts through the newspaper, he starts to read aloud. A new planet discovery by Lowell Observatory. Professor Harlow Shapley announced today that the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, had discovered a 9th major planet. The planet, which has not yet been named, is beyond Neptune. A new planet? Venesia leans forward in her chair. Another lump of clay to add to their model. I wonder what it should be called, Grandfather says, his brow creased. Venesia's imagination takes off, flying, leaping, connecting the dots from science to story. She knows that this planet, so far from the sun, must be frozen, dark, and lifeless. It would be like the underworld. The underworld ruled in Roman myths by Neptune's brother, Pluto. Wow. It might be called Pluto, Venesia says. Look at how far away Pluto is from the sun. Grandfather's eyes widen. He loves the name. He tells Venesia that he'll share her idea with his friend, Professor Herbert Hall Turner of the Royal Astronomical Society. Perhaps he has a say in the decision. After Venesia leaves for school, grandfather writes this note. Dear Professor, blessed if my little granddaughter Venesia Burney didn't up and suggest a name that to me seems thoroughly suitable. Pluto. Sincerely, Mesdames. On his way to the library, grandfather drops off the note at the professor's home. Pretty good idea there, Venesia. Meanwhile, not far away, Venesia and her schoolmates are buzzing with excitement about the new planet. They fire question after question to Miss Claxon. What was discovered? How was it discovered? By whom? How many billions of miles from the sun? How many paces beyond Neptune? Mrs. Claxon promised to find out. They're pretty excited. That evening, Venesia lies in bed, her mind adrift with Planet X. In a flurry of her thoughts spins one name, Pluto. Could it be the name for the new planet? Were the astronomers deciding now? That is pretty exciting to think that your suggestion for the name of a planet, somebody could actually use it. Saturday morning dawns, and Venesia and her grandfather search the papers for more information about Planet X. Mostly, though, they wait to hear from the professor. That afternoon, a response arrives. My dear Mesdames, I got your note on my return from London. I think Pluto is excellent. We did not manage to think of anything so good at the Royal Astronomical Society yesterday. The professor's note goes on to say that he has written to the astronomers at Lowell about Pluto. It will be up to them to decide. Wow. They love it. Isn't that amazing? A week goes by. At school, Venesia works on lessons in math, science, and history. At home, she and grandfather keep busy, reading, playing, and waiting. Will the astronomers like her idea? March turns to April, and Venesia waits. April drags on. Outside, the trees sprout leaves, and Venesia waits. They're just waiting. If Venesia could see what was happening across the ocean, she would find that Pluto has made its way through the doors of the Lowell Observatory to Clyde Tombaugh, the shy assistant who discovered Planet X. His first choice for a name? Pluto. Not only is it a perfect fit for the dark, icy world, but the first two letters are PL, for the initials of the astronomer Percival Lowell, who began the search for the planet. Ooh, so she doesn't even know that over in America, they are abuzz about her name. That is awesome. Finally, at the end of the month, the astronomers vote. It's unanimous. The ninth planet will be named Pluto. When grandfather shares the news with Venesia, she beams, her eyes radiance. How exciting! A young girl has named a planet. Grandfather sends a check to Miss Claxton, thanking her for her teaching. With the money, the school purchases a gramophone and names it Pluto. Venesia is a hero. So, a gramophone that you see Venesia standing next to, it's kind of like a record player. So it plays music and stories if they are recorded on a record, which looks like a big CD. If you don't know what those are, ask your parents, they'll show you a picture. As Venesia grows, Pluto tilts and spins in its long, slow orbit around the sun. It shares the outer reaches of the solar system with other spheres newly discovered by astronomers. Venesia gets older, and older still. Her hair turns silver. And one gray July afternoon, the day before her 89th birthday, she travels to the Observatory Science Center. Near the southern tip of England, she has been invited to view Pluto through a telescope, her first time ever. It's raining though, and it takes a clear sky to see the dwarf planet. But as Venesia nears, the rain stops and the clouds begin to part. A lovely sunset fills the sky. Thank goodness. Wouldn't have wanted her to miss that. Later, the darkness twinkling with stars, Venesia and the scientists climb to the observatory's dome, where the 111-year-old telescope is waiting. The scientists locate Pluto, and Venesia puts her eye to the lens. "By God," she says in an awed voice, "there it is, that icy sphere spinning 3.67 billion miles from the sun, many paces past Neptune, and its name is Pluto." Wow, that is amazing. She's 89 before she gets to see it for the first time. The planet that she named. The end. Wow. So, not going to read the author's note, but look here. That is Venesia Burney, the young girl who named the planet Pluto. That is amazing. I keep telling you guys and girls, I keep telling you all, you don't have to wait until you become an adult to make a huge impact. Who would have thought an 11-year-old could name a planet and people would take it seriously and say, that sounds like a good idea. Amazing story. Two amazing women. And I love this story because her grandfather, a man, the man in her life that loved her even after she lost her dad, encouraged her in all the things that she wanted to do and learn. And he didn't say, "Oh, you're crazy. They're not going to name it. They're not going to listen to a kid." He was like, "Well, let me take it to my friend." What if he was not supportive of her idea? We would have never had a name. It may have never been named Pluto. So, kudos to Granddad for taking her idea seriously. Oh my goodness, such a good book. So glad I got to share it with you all. Now, my friends, we have to get back to Miss Patina. So now, what chapter are we in, friends? What chapter are we in? We are in chapter, I think we're still in chapter 5. Oh, wait a minute, let me go back. Yeah, we're near the end of chapter 5. So before we ended on Fabulous Friday, we were at the part where now Coach Wit is helping the girls to wait a minute. Yes, Coach Wit is helping the girls to learn how to work as a team, because she's about to teach them how to run the relay with the baton. But she teaches them in kind of an unorthodox way by having them waltz and ballroom dance. But the guys, Ghost and Lou, they seem to think that's pretty funny until the head coach makes them dance the waltz too. And the girls find it hilarious. But I wonder, and you know what? I didn't get a chance to ask my mom. I'm going to ask her when we end today. I didn't get a chance to ask her how she was trained to do the relay. So we're going to learn more about how Coach Wit is teaching them how to work as a team. Because I personally have done a little bit of ballroom dancing, call it salsa dancing salsa. And you have to learn how to let one person be the leader and the other person follow them. So maybe that's what she was trying to teach them in this waltzing and ballroom dancing. Let's get back to the story of Patina, Patty Ain't No Junk by Jason Reynolds. So where did we end? Yes. Wait, Crystal said, immediately winding up. Her arms went from around Deja to her own hips. So now we got to dance in threes? Well, if that's the case, I volunteer Deja dancing between them two. Crystal pointed at me and Brit Brat. Crystal, no, just... Coach Wit was struck by Crystal's ridiculousness. Could one of y'all explain, please? Deja took on the task. Then we took our places again. But this time, Britt and I were standing about a foot away from each other. We held our hands the same, and on Wit's count, danced the waltz once more. Back, Wit instructed, nice and smooth. Remember, when you were closer, the pressure of your partner, knowing the steps, working and moving in unison. You like a hippie or something? Deja asked. Focus, Wit said. Might learn something. Doubt it, Crystal groused under her breath, but still loud enough for us to hear. 1, 2, 3. Left, now, forward. I was happy, relieved there was space between Britt and me. Space for her feet to meet ground and not my toes. It was also kind of cool to see all four of us moving around, swaying and stepping all at the same time. Reminded me of the Olympics. The only thing I like to watch, besides running, are the synchronized swimmers. Oh, me too. I mean, to move like that in the water is crazy. Cheerleaders do it too, sort of, but not like synchronized swimmers. And me, Britt Brat, Deja, and Crystal, once she finally shut up, were like synchronized swimmers, synchronized runners, and sneaky Wit. We had made like 20 or 30 squares before Wit finally, thank you, Lord, cut the music. Okay, that's enough. Good job. So, how did it feel? Then she pointed at Crystal, who was already fixing her mouth to crack a joke. Wit didn't say nothing to her, just pointed like, don't. It felt weird at first, I spoke up. Yeah, definitely. And I kept stepping on Patty's feet, Britt admitted. But then we kind of adjusted, you know? Right, same for us. Like after a few times, you just kind of stopped thinking about it, Deja said. Coach Witt looked at Crystal, who was smirking. It was cool, she said with a shrug, eyes everywhere. Coach Witt nodded, poked her bottom lip out, not in a sad way, but in the surprised and satisfied way. Well, let me ask you all this, a clever grin replaced the pokey lip. How many of you realize that I stopped counting a long time ago? The rest of practice was Whit giving us the rundown about the handoff, the passing of the baton, and how it was just like dancing the waltz, but we didn't actually practice it. She said we would be spending a portion of every practice for the rest of the week doing relay work. She was hoping that we'd be ready to give it a try by Saturday's meet. I found out after practice that Crystal, Deja, and Brit Brat had run relay last year, which is why they were so annoyed by the whole dance thing. I'm just saying, it ain't that deep. You run, then you hand the stick to the next person, then they run. That's pretty much exactly what I thought it was. All this cha-cha mess was, it was fine, but it ain't necessary, Crystal complained afterward. She took a swig of water, then threw the bottle in her duffel bag and zipped it shut. The waltz, I corrected her, even though she was echoing my own feelings. It was cool, but it didn't really seem all that helpful, at least not yet. Crystal shot me a look, but I didn't pay it no mind because over her shoulder, I could see Maddie coming toward me. Crystal went on mimicking the 1, 2, 3 count, Deja chiming in with the perfect amount of complimentary snark, Brit Brat laughing at both of them. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow. All right, Patty. Bye, Patty. Yo, Patty. Ghost was coming off the track, wiping his face with the bottom of his shirt. You out? Yeah. Without saying nothing, he cocked his head to the side. You ain't one of us no more? You too good for Sonny, Lou, and me? He smiled, making it clear he was joking. Sonny's my guy. I love Sonny. Oh, you love Sonny, but not me and Lou? At that moment, Maddie's arms wrapped around my waist. I could feel her rocking back, trying to get me to lift off my feet. I kissed the top of her head, immediately noticing fewer beads on her braids, which was normal. They fall off during the week like acorns from a tree. Hey, I tried to get her to stop squeezing. Tell Mommy I'm coming. First, say hi to Ghost. Maddie waved, then turned and ran back to the car. Now, back to Ghost. I wouldn't want to get in the middle of your relationship. Stop. Dancing so sweetly with each other. Stop. So precious. I'm leaving. Ghost turned around and walked toward Lou, who was sitting on a bench unlacing his track shoes. Come on, Ghost. Don't be that way, I begged to his back. Bye, Patty. He threw his hand up, dismissing me. I love you, Ghost, I shouted, but just not as much as I love Sonny. Of course, Sonny heard me, which I wasn't thinking about when I said it. We caught eyes, but I didn't want to make it weird, and for him to think it was anything more than a joke, so I added, because you pay attention to details. Then held my hand up, spirit finger style. Thanks for noticing my flojos. See you tomorrow. Chapter 6. To do. Eat turkey wings for the 1,000th day in a row. The ride home always goes like this. Momly turns the radio news down, then asks how practice was. I tell her it was fine. She asks if I'm tired. And even if I am, I tell her I'm not, just because I don't want Maddie to hear that I'm tired and think that I won't be able to help her with stuff like her homework, which every day when I ask her about it, she tells me Mom Lee already helped her. And before I can even say anything, Mom Lee says, didn't you have didn't didn't want you to have to worry about it, which I just nod at. Then I tell Mom Lee I'll help her make dinner as soon as my homework's done. And she says, I've already started cooking. And by then, Maddie's already started kicking the back of my seat for the rest of the ride, which drives me crazy, but also in some weird way kind of relaxes me. Like a massage and a message. I'm here, Patty, and I'm fine. And today was no different. I was tired, acted like I wasn't. Maddie's homework was done, and I had a little left of mine to do before dinner. Nothing too major. I knocked out my math assignment. English homework was to think about canons, which basically meant English homework was to think about history homework, which was going to be reading up more on Frida Kahlo so I could be ready to add some new information to our project. Not like anyone else was going to. I figured TNT and Becca were probably at home. I don't know, tanning or something. It wouldn't have surprised me if they had one of those skin cooker things in their houses, those beds that you lay on that come down over the top of you and roast you, and you come out looking like a rotisserie chicken. Meanwhile, I was researching things I learned about Frida so far. She was from Mexico. She was diagnosed with polio when she was 6, which made her right leg skinnier than her left. When she was 18, she got into a bus accident that broke her spine, crushed her right leg and foot, and made it impossible for her to have babies. Doctors said she would never walk again. Patty, a squeaky voice way too silly to be real, came from the other side of my bedroom door. Uncle Tony. He dropped the Daffy Duck talk. Dinner's almost ready. You almost done with your homework? My uncle's voice, when he's speaking like a regular human being, is deep, but not in the scary way. He has one of those voices that you wish you could touch, wrap yourself up in like a blanket. A voice like a dad, and I guess like an uncle, a favorite uncle. Well, my friends, we will end there with the story of Patina. So now Patina is learning that she doesn't necessarily have to take so much care of her sister. And maybe she's learning that she can let her uncle and momly take care of her instead of feeling like she has to take on so much responsibility. And she's also learning some new things in track practice. Let's see how the relay goes the next time that we read about Patina on our Fabulous Friday. Well, my friends, I'm so happy to be back with you today. Loved the stories we read today about women I had no idea existed. A girl named Pluto. Just amazing stories. Well, my friends, I'm glad I was able to be here with you this evening, and I cannot wait to be with you on our Fabulous Friday. So, with that, we are at the end, and I will see you next time on our next broadcast of Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Until Fabulous Friday, I will see you next time.